Valley
I
girl,
am.
or that, yeah, you're from there?
Not a valley girl.
Oh, no, is there a
I've
difference?
lived
Teach
in
me.
the valley,
I'm
but
the ignorant Texan in this regard. So what's the difference between SoCal girl and Valley girl? Did I mix up two locations?
well, the valley is in Southern California, but it's like they're just different. It's kind of like, I guess I would consider myself, truly, if we're going to be honest about this, a
Go ahead.
country girl at heart that somehow grew up in Southern California because, I want to get Thai food and wear dresses and high heels, but, which you can do probably anywhere. You could probably do it in Texas where you are. Not that
Well,
you would. I
I
don't think you would wear a dress
I
and
leave the
high
high
heels.
heels at home usually.
but I want to be in jeans and a t-shirt chasing dogs and I don't know, just running around. But the
Yeah.
valley's just weird. It's very pretentious.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure I have that side of me somewhere, at times too, when I'm hangry, especially.
You're
But
angry.
what I love about you diving right into this topic though is that, I could be offended, right? On behalf
Mm.
of everybody, we could jump to like, oh my gosh, let's never talk politics. Let's avoid religion. Let's avoid sports. There's so much disaster right now in the world in terms of communication
Yeah.
and being able to, like make space for empathy, compassion, hearing each other out, speaking to ourselves well versus putting ourselves down. I love
Mhm.
your topic, thinking for ourselves versus thinking against ourselves. And I think
Mhm.
communication, the words we choose, has a lot to do with that as well. So
Mhm.
what got you started on the path of, dedicating your profession to this?
Well, it was a really long journey, and it really started, growing up with a lot of trauma and abuse and different things like that. And, back in those days, so I'm going to date myself just a little bit, back in the 70s, 80s, even 90s, nobody was talking about this like it is now.
Right.
So things got shoved down. So I really started my personal development journey. I was probably in my late 30s, early 40s, which is still a long time ago, and started going, wow, this is really interesting. I'd never heard some of these things before. And actually, a girlfriend gave me a book called You're Already Amazing. And it's
Mm.
a faith based book about identity, about just being the fact that you're human, you're amazing, you're
Yeah.
created for a purpose. And I had
Love
never
that.
heard that message. I was like, wow, even though I grew up in church, I'd
Yeah.
never heard like, you matter.
Mm.
So it was a long journey. And um, it's been decades long. But when I started to learn things, I started going, you know what? I'm not alone in this. There's a whole world of people out there that think that they are not good enough because of what has been told to them, either, teachers, coaches, parents, or the media, people they work with, you're not good enough. You don't measure up. So
So
I know.
true.
I
I'm so
know.
glad you're talking about it. This is so today I did a deep dive study on humility because we've
Mm,
completely lost the concept of what it means. And it means a full appreciation of oneself and
mm,
everything else in the world. It's all about gratitude and diving in, not self-deprecation. And huge shout out to Samantha Skelly. Samantha Skelly created these T-shirts for her binge eating program. This was a couple years ago, and the T-shirt took the word imperfect, right? And you take that, and it says I'm perfect,
yeah.
right? That appreciation again, full appreciation for recognizing that we're not the flaws, the mistakes, the failures, all those things. They're, as Barbara Ann Gardenhire Mills says, first attempt and learning, right? The acronym for fail. We're all learning and evolving. So I really appreciate you bringing it up because it's hard to reach people with a
Mhm.
message of confidence and being your best self if somebody's a shell of themselves, not
Mm,
showing up, putting themselves down,
yeah.
having like negative self-talk. And I went through that same type of trauma and tremendous, like, uh-oh, I don't value in the world. I don't value myself in the world unless I'm the best.
Mm,
And that put me in the bro marketing corners. hiding behind
Mm.
sunglasses, standing in front of airplanes that weren't mine, doing things that so many of these leaders out there are doing, that leaders, right, that are either, I call them sheep's and shepherd's clothes.
Ooh.
And you can't protect people from the wolves if you're just as, delicate and lost as everybody else you're trying to lead. So,
Oh gosh,
what are the thoughts? Go
Jackson, I gotta interrupt you right there because that's a book.
ahead.
That's a book,
Yep,
my friend.
working on it. One of
I
many.
love that.
What'd you love about it? Help me see, because your perspective is going to be different than mine.
No, I think the way that you said, if you're a sheep in shepherd's clothes, you can't protect. It's almost like sometimes we don't know what we don't know because we're trying to fit in. Basically, human beings were created for community. We're not created to be alone and isolated. It just doesn't work. And I'm an off the chart extrovert. I feel like I should have a PhD in the effects of isolation and abandonment because it's brutal to walk through if you have a lot of words to use up every day like I do,
Hmm.
which my cat fully appreciates.
That's awesome.
But that like you it's just going back to you don't know what you don't know, and I might be older than your average guest. I don't know, but it's
No,
like
no, no, no. I,
no.
I lean towards wisdom. And look, there's people who have years of wisdom early, and in reality, there's so many things that if you've got a couple decades on me, anybody, I'm at 37, there's a lot of stuff I haven't figured out yet. So,
Yeah.
um, you
Okay,
know,
you're my daughter's age.
well, they maybe started having kids at 10, but okay. Um,
We'll go with that. It's
yeah.
the filter. Thank you. No, there's just so much that you learn as you get older. It's like you finally come into this place where you're just like, I'm not in junior high trying to fit in anymore. And okay, I
Mm,
don't know if you had this experience in junior high,
me
but
too.
when I was in junior high, they had this thing called getting canned. It's where you get picked up and put head first into a trash can.
Oh no. Oh no, no, that was totally. I think that died in the early '90s, but maybe I was just in a privileged school. It's possible. I was 6'2", as well as a 14-year-old, so
Okay,
nobody was picking me up.
there you go. It probably didn't happen to girls as much, but it was like it was a thing for guys. And so just, the idea of you grow up and you start going, I am not in 7th grade trying to avoid the bullies and not getting canned. Like,
Mm,
I'm an adult. I have some autonomy here to make decisions and take the reins of my life and decide where am I gonna steer this horse to? Like, what are we doing? Like, people just need to take control of their life back, and a lot of them are so afraid to do that because like cancel culture became a big thing. Well, we
mhm.
were canceled on the playground when we were kids.
Yeah,
It's it's not it's just it's a different awareness after what we went through in the world the last few years.
it's true. It's true, and that those traumas do come up. Mine, the hair thing, right? This is the first time in my life growing my hair out. I was terrified. I didn't know how terrified. I justified it for 15 years. My son wanted to grow his hair out. I said, nope. We are sharp. We are clean. We don't do that. We have our image, right, that we're supposed to maintain professionally or religiously, etc. And again, nothing bad about those paradigms, but mine was I wasn't virtuously using those paradigms.
Mm.
So when the day came that I met my son's friend who inspired him, his kid's like a little version of Jesus, like wonderful kid. And I go up to my son, I'm like, I'm gonna grow my hair out with you. I was like, this is cool. I was like, I like this kid. And so his mom cut his hair. I don't know. I'll leave that where it's at. But I went through this process of, oh my gosh, I'm terrified to do this.
Wow.
I was so terrified. I go to a family event, my uncle goes, "Hey, ugly." And my inner child like ran, I was like screaming, pissed, like, do I fight this guy? This is my uncle, like I love my uncle. And then my adult self was like, you're all right. This is part of the process. This is, you're going to be good. This is exactly what we're overcoming. Right.
Mm.
And so there was all sorts of, and I still go through it. There's still lots of things that have me go like, what am I doing? Right. But those are when it was, Fletcher Ellingson on Monday was on the show, and he talked about how fear is a internal instinct and a communication alert to step into our courage. It's an
Mm.
opportunity to exercise our courage. And I was like, that's a really, really profound and easy way for me to think about the relationship
Mhm.
between fear and courage. So
That's good.
you've done such an amazing leadership job of getting me talking and like getting me to open up. So you got superpowers.
I
We see
totally
that.
do, and I will use them on you.
I'm feeling this, and it's enjoyable. And so now we're going to move though to before we dive into your full vision, what are
Yeah.
3 resources that other visionary leaders can use that have helped you get to where you are?
Okay, so I have 3 great books, and this is the first book. It's Reality-Based Leadership by Cy Wakeman. She's an absolute genius. This book changed my life, and, I cried through most of it because it was like, "Oh my gosh, somebody else actually understands what I've been going through." So that was
Mm,
really great. The next book is Catalytic Leadership, 12 Keys to Becoming an Intentional Leader Who Makes a Difference.
there's a
This is
theme here.
by I know, right? This is William Attaway. I actually hired him to be my executive coach this last January. He's
Going right to
fantastic.
the source,
So,
right?
you know
Love it.
what? I have spent so much money on courses that did not deliver. It is so worth it to invest in yourself and have somebody walk with you personally. It's
Mhm.
life-changing.
Huge.
And then the third book, this is so good, The Power of Moments, Chip Heath and Dan Heath.
Mm,
Moments matter. You can change the world standing in line at the grocery store or in your office or wherever you are.
love that. Those
Yeah.
are awesome. None of those are on my radar. So now
Ooh.
they all are. I always get really excited when I learn about new wells that I've into. And then
Yeah.
you go find, like you did, go find the person who built the well. Oh, right. I'm a big fan of
Love
figuring
that.
out.
Go find the person that built the well. You're just dropping all kinds of things that could be on a t-shirt or on a mug.
I'm getting
Yeah,
there. I'm getting there.
I love
Right.
it.
The same is going to be true on the vice versa. In fact, I saw a quote from your website that I'll highlight real fast on that. You are famous for saying, oh, believe believing a lie is just as powerful as believing the truth. We're going to come
Mhm.
back to that after we take our little break. And all you listening in, take that context of and think through it. What does that mean to you? And may you be in a situation where you're kind of caught believing a lie and caught stuck with it. And we'll try to unpack how to escape that situation right when we come back. All right, welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Calame. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your show host, Jackson Calame, founder and CEO of First Class Business. And I'm excited to have Sharon Hughes here today. We're going to be talking about communication with ourselves. If you ever get into negative self-talk, this is definitely something for you. If you get into negative self-think as well, I highly recommend sticking around. We've already unlocked a couple of really cool treasures that have even been some things that I learned this very week about communication with myself and overcoming those, what do they call it in the world? The imposter syndrome, right? That hits us. Well, we all deal with that. So we'll bring her on in just a minute. I want to give you a couple of other resources at the same time. So we're going to start with hardtokill.org by Dave Morrow. Hardtokill.org is helping 100,000 veterans lose 2 million pounds collectively. Why? Because, well, life is so much more enjoyable when we look good, feel good, and then go and do good. And I love that that's Dave's focus. In fact, you can see how much good he did in one small but very powerful event. Look up Dave Morrow, Afghanistan, and see what the New York Times has to say about Dave's impact and influence on trying to help some very important allies in Afghanistan. In addition to that, though, this program has been opened. It's no longer just available for veterans. This is a community that's now been open to civilians like myself. And I don't know what Dave did to me, but I went 8 years avoiding some of the best coaches in the physical fitness space for years and staying the skinny fat guy. Right? I've talked to a lot of coaches, a lot of great leaders out there, and none of them got me motivated to actually do my workouts. Dave cracked my code. And I am super, super happy and excited about that and grateful to be part of, again, his community and his life. So then there's the next sponsor, which is opportunities. Now, this sponsor, what? No, this is our homegrown program. Oportunidades de Trabajo para Latinos, in particular, the one that we're going to show you here, is run by Latinos these days. I built this for 14 years. And after 14 years, I finally had enough self-confidence. Again, we're going to talk about that with Sharon, and enough of a drive for my given purpose to actually bring it to fruition. I'm super happy to say that any Latinos out there that are listening, or if you know a Latino leader, invite them to come be a guest on that show. We're inspiring Latinos and Filipinos and people in India, thanks to Harry Vashist and Ange Castro in their respective roles, to learn about things you and I take for granted. Most of these individuals, when they come and find us, they'd never even heard of LinkedIn. They don't know about Canva. They don't know Upwork. They've never read Rich Dad Poor Dad. They've never read Think and Grow Rich. They don't have those resources. We're inspiring them to start looking in and realizing there's a whole world of opportunities, and we teach them to stay away from the VA relationships out there. We call that virtual abuse. We want our virtual assistants to become digital ambassadors that are empowered with strength, and they're doing an amazing job of helping our brand. So if again, that draws you for whatever reason, go ahead and check out opportunities to see what we're doing that. If your leader wants to jump in and help, by all means, join us. We got 8 billion people to help. Speaking of the water project, is not ours, not related to us. I love the project though. When I found out that there's people that don't have access to clean drinking water, I just decided not to ignore that message. I was like, you know what? This sounds kind of important. And I imagined what it'd be like for my kids to be like this child who's digging into a well that I would never drink from, right? Ever let my kids do that. Yet that's what they have. They're walking 3 to 5 miles sometimes to get access to water when they should be in school, sent by the community itself. You can imagine the danger. So as I started to internalize that and got involved with one project, right? I just invested a tiny bit in one project. I think $5 the first time. And I found out they give you updates for what happens with the sand dam they're building or the borehole well they're building. You get to see the project come to fruition. And these kids celebrate water like my kiddos celebrate Christmas Day. You have the opportunity to bring that to some child on the other side of the planet. So I hope that you join me on it. If you are in a financial position to where that sounds like a conflict, that's okay. My hope is that you will talk about this over dinner. Maybe share it with a friend, maybe tag somebody that you meditate about. I'm like, oh man, I should share this with so-and-so. You never know how far the ripple effect of the good action or just the invitation will go that you do. So join us on that. And without further ado, we'll get back to serving you with all good things for your vision. Sharon Hughes, welcome to Vision Pros Live.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Absolutely. We're going to dive right back in hot and heavy. You have this awesome quote, and it's disturbingly powerful. T-shirts, I could see it on a black T-shirt in white, right? Believing a lie is just as powerful as believing the truth.
Yeah.
Talk me through that. I felt it horrifies me.
Yeah. Well, I think most of us believe lies about ourselves, and that's just as powerful as if you believe the truth about yourself. So really the challenge is figuring out, well, what's the lie that I believe?
We would love to hear from you guys in the comments. If there's a lie that you have been victim of believing, right? If there's something that you realize you are no longer, let's share. I'm going to hit some for myself, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to find me attractive because my teeth are crooked, right? That's a lie that my nose is broken in 3 places and it's huge, right? And so my huge nose, is something that nobody wants to see on camera, right? There's all sorts of things that we dive into. My voice isn't good enough to be able to sing, right? There's so many things. What about you, Sharon? You mind sharing a few?
Yeah, well, mine was really rooted in self-worth issues. And basically, so when I coach people, this is what I do is, and I tried this out in corporate training. This is so powerful. Think about what you've dragged around your entire life. So for guys that are listening, it's the coach that said you're no good, you'll never make the cut.
Ooh.
The dad that says you won't measure up. It could be, and some of these are for everybody, but guys have it different, and I'll go into that in a second.
Yeah.
It's you're not smart enough. You're no good. You're stupid. Like a teacher that says to you, "Why aren't you trying harder?" Hello, what does that do to a kid?
Right. I
So
got the E on my report card all the time, almost every class. It
did
did
you?
not stand for excellent. It stood for excessive talking.
Are
Huh.
you an extrovert?
Huh. That's kind of funny. Oh, I mean, oh, now look what I do today. Right. So I am an introverted extrovert. Yes, I love to
Okay.
be there for people, and I'm now more assertive than anything. But I used to be like super
Yeah.
private about me, but there and present for anybody else.
Yeah. Well, that already changed at the very beginning of our conversation. You started sharing some things, got my
Right.
superpower coming at you. So basically, just asking yourself, what have you dragged around? It's some form of rejection. And when we get hurt by that, it's always rooted in fear of, not being loved and accepted, not being enough. So I would tell people, hold on to that for just a second. Don't share it with anybody in the room. I'd go through a whole training. We'd come back to the very end. And I'd say, okay, that thing you've been dragging around, is it true? The room always goes silent. Some people start to cry. And
Yeah.
it's just shocking how many people you're around every single day in your workplace, just kids' school, other parents, just like anywhere you go, there's humans. People are dragging stuff around. They're in so much pain, hiding and feeling like I don't measure up. So, first time I shared this in corporate training, the next question I said is, well, if those things aren't true, who would you be? And this lady sitting in the front row just burst out in front of like 30 people. She goes,
Yeah.
free. I'd be free. And I was so not expecting that. People don't usually shout things out in corporate training. And I was like, okay, I think I'm onto something. And I kept using that and built everything that I do on that. So for the audience right now is what are you dragging around that somebody said to you? I mean, I was going to try out for cheerleading in 7th grade. I was
Oh,
13, and I remember my dad saying, "You're not good enough." I was devastated. I could hear him for years telling me, "You're not good enough." Until he eventually kicked me out of the house at 17 and I was homeless, and that just added to the story. I'm not good enough. It's taken a lot of work to get to the other side of that. So, what's possible for you if those things are lies? You can
wow.
be free.
I want to dig into this vein even further because the entrepreneurs I work with seem like some of the most bulletproof people in the world, and yet so
Yeah.
many of them are shattered inside, and they
Yeah.
haven't escaped these realities. And guys, I'm not a doctor. This is not a trained situation. Be careful with what I say. Don't share anything, over divulge. But again, if you feel empowered to make the comment and let it go, and surround yourself with people who are going to build you up and help you feel safe with this, then consider it. I remember my first massive insecurity. I was 5 years old playing soccer, and
Mm.
I would go to soccer in jeans because my thighs were fat. I grew up with my mom and five older sisters, and I listened to these angels, like the people that I loved most and felt were perfect, talk about how fat they were, even though they weren't at all even close. And so I grew up with this super complex of I'm not good enough. If they felt, and they never said it to me, but I felt the self-sabotage. I inherited that from those who raised me, and then compound that with everything else that happens in life. Right. My next one was somehow I ended up, I shouldn't say somehow, through a lot of rejection and a lot of challenges, I ended up carrying the weight that if I'm not the best, then I am nothing. And I
Wow.
think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that, where they don't want
Yeah.
to acknowledge their competition.
Mhm.
The visionaries want to pretend that they have to have the only solution on earth or something completely unique. Those are all representations of having that inferiority complex or the superiority complex of uh, we just can't accept that we are valuable as we are. And you talked about that in the beginning, and the
Yeah.
value of that. That's a profound truth. So you did something very fast. You went from people looking at what's dragging them to the immediate opposite, which I'm grateful for that transition, because I like fast transitions of what would you be? And that person
Mhm.
said free. What
Mhm.
are some of the other answers that people you've worked with and trained have centered in on?
One of the most profound things that happened was I did that same training about 2 weeks later with another group. So, like, again, this was in corporate training, all departments at this company, men, women, all different backgrounds. And a guy about 36, 37 started crying, and he came up to me after and he goes, "Sharon, I haven't talked to my family in 10 years, and I'm gonna call them tonight." Now, he never shared with me what he had walked through or any other details, but I thought, this is so it's such a quick win for someone to get, for somebody to be able to
Huge.
flip like that, to like, "Okay, there's something in my life I need to address." And then just to move on to the
Amazing.
next piece of this is, what are you willing to let go of?
Yeah.
'Cause
Well,
it's
you hit something huge.
confrontational.
He didn't just say something, right? It wasn't just an affirmation. And there's nothing wrong with the affirmation path, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about somebody you honed in on an actual
Mhm.
action, right? Somebody
Yeah.
jumped. That there's both people. The person who shouted out freedom
Yeah.
and this person is taking an action. And if we're not careful as listeners, what does that mean for him, right? What
Mhm.
transformations took place word wise? And we won't know, like you said, this brilliant
Yeah.
reality. Keep going.
Well, it's really, really confrontational work, and a
Mm,
lot of people are afraid because what they've been dragging around for so long has become their identity, and they don't know who they are without being that.
hmm. Us
And
men aren't afraid. We're busy. Right?
more men need to speak up about this so that other men can be free.
It's frou frou. It's frou frou, right?
Yeah.
This is the woo woo stuff. No, that just means you're scared.
Yeah.
That's all that means. If you find yourself saying it's frou frou woo woo, it's because you're scared
Thank
of
you.
thinking differently. So,
Yeah.
mhm. If you
Yeah.
want to challenge me on that in the comments too, I mean, by all means, give me another perspective. Right? It's just mine. I've only got one angle. So,
No, I love that. Because it's one thing for me as a woman to call a guy out, and definitely, I would never do that in a way to be like the wrong kind of confrontation. It's the kind of confrontation that comes from, "You matter so much, and you are so capable, and there's so much for you. You're missing it." It's like if we were talking about sales, I would be saying, "You're leaving money on the table."
right. Right. When
So
and
think
you're steering from a position of
Yeah.
what Kim Scott labels this, and we
Mm,
hear it and we get it wrong. We don't understand what she said. We tune it out, and it's so sad because her version of radical candor, right? Phenomenal book is I care so much that I am willing to talk to you about change.
yeah.
Most people think radical candor is just being extremely truthful, but they
Mhm.
don't actually dive into the quadrant of that what that book means. And so
Mhm.
I'm grateful that you're willing to talk about it. That's the whole point of this show, in and of itself. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit with you though. What
Okay.
is what's the vision for the people that you
Mm.
serve?
It's that they know who they are and how valuable they are. It's so simple. If you've have you ever looked at the Johari window? So the Johari window, it's like a
No,
four-pane
what is
window.
this?
Yeah, it's really cool. I
Okay,
wish I had it pulled up. I didn't expect to share that with you, but you can
I'll
just
pull it
do
up.
a quick, like, do a search Johari window, Johari. This
Okay,
can be used in so many different ways, and it's a great tool, whether you're working one-on-one, you need to do some self-reflection, or you're giving feedback to somebody on your team. Each box represents something different. So there's,
let's do
you
this.
know
I'm gonna get it up here for you. Which one do you want? The
Oh, just do the top left one that's got the blue background. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, let me
That's
get that
perfect.
open in a bigger window for us too. That
That's
way,
so cool.
people like
Thank
me
you.
don't have eyes. There we go.
This is cool. Okay, so let's look at the box, the light yellow box that says blind spot. That what
Hmm.
that represents is what you might know about me, but I
Oh,
don't know about me.
right.
So you can look at me and you could be like, you're my next door neighbor, and you're just like, I see you come and go every day. I see the kind things that you do. I see all these great things in you, yada yada. You don't see it in yourself. So
Wow.
we have blind spots, and they
Hmm.
can be for good or they can be for bad. It can be, a boss that thinks he's a good communicator, but he really doesn't listen to his team. So that could be a blind spot.
Hmm. Been
So
there.
yeah, this
Still
is
there. Right? It's an
yeah.
evolution process. So if I
Yeah,
say
you're
I've
right.
been there definitively,
Yeah,
that means I'm not accepting the fact that I obviously have blind spots.
yeah, yeah. The open area is what you and I would both know about myself or about yourself.
Hmm.
Hidden area, what you and I have not discovered about me or about you. And then the unknown, did I do that
Okay, so
wrong? I
the
did
so
that
the hidden
wrong.
area would be what
Hidden
I know,
areas,
but I haven't shared that with somebody else, right?
yes, yes, I did that wrong. And then the
Okay.
unknown is what you and I both don't know. Yeah.
Gotcha. So the hidden area in this case would be like my belly button. You don't know what my belly button looks like. Right. That's a safe one there. And then there's the not known to self and not known to you, the complete
Yeah,
unknown, which
the
is like
complete
the
unknown.
majority of the world is in the unknown. And I think in business
Yeah,
and visions, we have a really sad tendency to beat ourselves up over the unknown. And
mhm,
I'm constantly like my trainings with my
yeah,
entrepreneur. I don't train, I'm not a coach, it's not what I do. But when we do talk about it, I'm like, look, you're however old you are, how much do you know about oxygen? You've been breathing it your whole life.
yeah,
And they're like, nothing. I'm like, so if you don't know anything about oxygen, then why do you feel like you're supposed to know everything about marketing and about leadership when you've only been paying attention to that probably since your 20s?
mm.
And like let go of all the things we don't know. Like that's the fun part. That's the quadrant we get to go explore and have fun in, but we don't have to pretend we know it all.
I think this is the point that we need to just remind everybody listening, it's okay to be human. Like it or not, you're
Yeah,
human. You're not a
thank you.
cyborg.
I
Can
feel
we
good.
just have a come to Jesus moment that none of us have everything figured out, not even
Yeah,
ChatGTP.
I'm close. In fact, I have very tiny bit figured out compared to the everything else, right?
Yeah,
And but that's the essence. That doesn't mean you're
yeah,
not valuable at all. It doesn't take away from your value in any way, shape, or form.
yeah,
And so again, I love that you kind of bring that to people. So thinking for ourselves.
yeah.
Um, I want to dive into that. I'm gonna give you an option, multiple choice. So we can go into thinking for ourselves and what that means and how we do that, or we can go into worst leadership experience that you've ever had.
Mhm.
Which one do you want to go into? Not a trick question either.
Well, let's go into thinking for yourself.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. The irony of that is not lost on me, or the not irony, right? You went right for the subject. Great, awesome. That worked out nicely.
Ding, 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 ding. I want a donut.
All right. I wish I could pass you one. In the next 50 more years, we'll have technology, or we can pass one through the screen. So
That'd be cool.
maybe.
Yeah.
So thinking for ourselves. All right. So the idea of it just seems too simple to get. But what are signs maybe that I'm not thinking for myself? Right. I've got that group think going on, and
Mhm,
I have a thought on this too, like escaping what's called the agentic state,
mhm.
as Milner put it, Stanley
Yeah.
Milner put it. But how do you do this? How do we get people to recognize the puppet strings?
How do you feel about yourself?
Hmm.
How do you feel about yourself, like, when you're around certain people that point out all your flaws and why you don't measure up? And think about how do you feel about yourself when you're around people that actually speak truth and life over you?
Oh,
We're always gonna gravitate towards that truth and life. I feel like there's, like, this counterbalance. They say in psychology, you need, like, 7 positives to overcome every 1 negative. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, if we need 6 more people to tell us that we matter to cancel out the uncle that said, "Hey, ugly."
Then
Like,
get 12. Then get 12, right?
yeah. Like, and the old adage is about you become the company that you keep. It really is true. I
Yeah.
feel like we just keep learning more and more about that. Like, that was why I hired an executive coach, 'cause I could not find anybody, not one leader or mentor in all my years that would help me get to the next level, and it was super disappointing. I was like, I got as far as I could go by, reading and doing a lot of work on myself, did some counseling, some coaching type of things, but, like, just wasn't enough. You have to invest in yourself. I mean, and if you're not in a financial situation where you can, keep reading the books, doing the work on yourself. Do what you can until you can afford a coach, but
Well, and look, I'm
mm-mm.
gonna
Yeah,
bear news to the world that's gonna
yeah.
shock everybody. Um,
Uh-oh.
I have never invested money, physical money, into a specific coach. I know, like mind blowing. And people be like, "Well, that's why you'll never X." You can judge all you want.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, I love the coaching world and the idea of coaching, but I learned through network marketing the hard way that when you
Mm.
invest in somebody way down the hill that does not know what they're doing, you are not going to win. If you
Yeah.
want to win and you're going to open a Subway franchise, don't go follow the dumbest Subway franchise owner. Go
Yeah.
to the best Subway franchise owner and ask them to mentor you and follow everything they
Mhm.
do and say as a
Yeah.
mentor in that type of circumstance. So the the reality with the coaching world for business, and I know there's probably a few coaching organizations that are not happy with what I'm saying right now, but I had a golf coach. My golf coach, he took me to a golf course, very nice one, and I go up there and I take my little practice swing, right, and he goes, "Oh my gosh." No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. He's messing my mind, right? So I take my next practice. He's like, again? He's like, "Where are you gonna hit it?" I was like, "Nope, sorry, dude. Go ahead. You do your thing." And so I'm like, and he's like, "Bro, just hit the game. Just hit the ball." So I go out, I hit the ball, I shank it. He runs up there, hits his ball perfectly, and runs back to the cart, jumps in, and we take off. I mean, like we're playing basketball. And he
Wow.
goes, "Jackson, golf is a game. Play it like a game. It is meant to be
Mm.
enjoyed and to be fun." And so he's driving he's like, "We're gonna leave your ball where it's at." He has like 300, 400 yards, And so he's driving and he goes, "Jackson, so many golf coaches want you to become dependent upon them because that's how they make their livelihood. That's
Mm.
how they make their money. And so when you're out in the golf course, you're thinking about all the things your coach said and what you need to do, and you're not playing the game.
Mm.
I'm going to empower you to play the game of golf without me so you can enjoy it. You can be successful. You can be confident. You don't have to be stuck, addicted, a slave
Yeah.
to that garbage style coaching." And I was like,
Yeah.
so again, there's still great coaches, but the great coaches out there empower us. They don't
Mhm.
make us dependent upon them. Thoughts on
Yeah.
that? Am I wrong? Or like, is this important?
No, that is so good. There's so many people that they're just like these codependent coaches, and now coaches are everywhere. It's kinda just a disservice, really. They take a $49 course on Instagram and, "Oh, I'm a coach." No, you're not. What have you walked through?
It's tough. I mean, I've got a 0.33 GPA, Sharon. I have no degree, no diploma, no certifications, and I've probably been a better coach since I was 4 years old than most people because of life experience.
Yeah,
And so it's
yeah,
it's tough because we're all living and learning, but I look at the world and they say, "We got 8 billion people in this world. How many more math teachers do we need?" Tons. And there's far more math teachers and coaches, but so how do we though, like if you're in a position where you need coaching, how do we then recognize who it is that we turn to? I think it's through listening through podcasts like this and gravitating
yeah,
towards, who kind of makes the most sense, trusting our
yeah,
intuition. And so when it comes to the thinking for ourselves,
mhm,
what else will help us start to think for ourselves in healthy fashion?
yeah. Well, podcasts definitely help, and just to go back to what you just said about, listening to who makes the most sense, like, you should be able to have a free consultation with a coach to see if it's a good fit before you sign anything. So people don't throw your money at somebody that wants you to give them 5K just to have a conversation. Because, honestly, as a coach, there's some people that are not coachable that I don't want to work with. So it's just as important for the coach to meet with you to see if you're a good fit. You need to
Huge.
be coachable. Do your homework, you know.
What? Are you for real? I feel like work at this.
Yeah, you need to find somebody that works for you and with you.
Right.
And the best thing that they can do is they can walk with you, and then you get to where you need to be, and you get to fire your coach. This is, there's going to be time that you come back where you're just like, hey, I'm at my next milestone, and I want to get to the next thing, and I need some help strategizing that. It's not like you're going to be in a forever relationship. It's not like getting married.
Huge. And it can be. LeBron James has been with his coach for a very, 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 very long time, but he is not toxic enough, and his coach isn't toxic enough to say,
Yeah.
I already have a coach. He's got like over 100 coaches in his life.
Mhm.
And so does Adele, and so does Ed Sheeran, and so do very,
Yeah.
very successful people. They don't close their mind or put blind spots on to the
Yeah.
opportunity. So I love that you share that, because yes, there are occasions where it makes sense to divide and conquer or to go your
Mhm.
separate ways. And it
Mhm.
also is very important if you've got somebody who's trying to act like they're the one hit wonder for everything for your life. That's a bad
Run,
sign. Yeah, run.
run,
I ran,
run.
yeah, I ran late in a lot of
Yeah.
those. It hurt.
Yeah.
So, oh man, I really hope those of you that are out there listening are the reason why I'm talking so much is because it benefited so much from what Sharon's exposed and unwrapped
Yeah.
for me. This will
Yeah.
help me get to new levels. So,
'Cause I
anything else you
personally
want to share?
wouldn't. What's that?
Anything else you want to share? Go ahead. Personally.
Yeah, I wouldn't hire a coach that hasn't gotten further down the road than me. I actually have fired 2 coaches that I hired years ago,
Hmm.
and one of them, she embarrassed me on a group call, actually humiliated me, and I was so shocked at her behavior, but what it showed was she was really in the coaching space because of her own insecurities. And she thought, I'm going to have these people and I'm going to steer them clear and, I'm going to feel good about it. Was a horrible, horrible experience, but I learned a lot from it. And I thought I would never want somebody to leave a coaching session with me feeling the way that I felt with those other coaches
Yeah.
that I fired. Don't be afraid to fire your coach either.
Right. Right. We can't be afraid of it. And I think there's an opportunity to
Yeah.
look at, like, do others people have the capacity
Yeah.
to humiliate us? Or is that something that we choose to allow other people to do? And we're all at different learning stages on that. There's a phenomenal TED Talk that helped me with the same concept, because I used to be easy to humiliate. Very,
Mm,
very, 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 very easy to get triggered by stuff. And the
mm,
TED Talk talks about how to not get offended. And you'll see the guys like this and the talk like he's from a profile side, red hair. Oh my gosh, super simple coin flip idea of how
mhm,
to how to receive those types of experiences in a new
mhm.
light. And as leaders, right, the bigger and the bigger and the bigger the stage we get to, the more hecklers that we
Yeah.
come across as well. And so all of you visionaries out there's going to be people who challenge what you do, challenge how you do it, say you're doing things wrong, say this, that, and the other. And so our opportunity to protect ourselves is, again, thinking for ourselves
Mhm,
in a positive way, and finding a space to know that when we're thinking against ourselves,
mhm.
how do we take a step back from ourselves? My goodness, how meta can we go? Right, from ourselves, and realize like, okay, we still have options
Yep,
related to this.
you
Um,
do.
hmm. So I'm going to ask you my favorite question, and then we'll wrap up.
Uh-oh,
My
uh-oh.
favorite question of all time. So Sharon, if this was your absolute last opportunity to speak, what
Hmm.
powerful lesson can other visionaries learn from your experience?
Be careful who you listen to and who you give permission to speak into and over your life. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, you need to have a filter. Because like we talked about at the beginning, if somebody's telling you you're not good enough, you don't measure up, it's got to be filtered because it can cause some serious damage. But we're not taught that when we're kids. We grow up thinking adults, family members, teachers, coach, soccer coaches, whatever it is, that, they're adults. They know more. I'm just a kid. What do I know? We tend to believe things that are said to us. We have that childlike wonder. And when we're being attacked and told that we're stupid and we're too fat and we're ugly and all these things, that kids just don't have that built-in filter.
Mm-hmm.
And it plants a little seed. We got to be really careful what we water.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have that seed, you're already a little insecure, haven't quite healed from that. You meet somebody, you fall in love or whatever the situation is, and somebody they just seem to know how to say something to sink your ship,
Right.
And then these little things kind of build on each other. We got to be really careful what we let in. If you don't have people in your life that's building you up, helping you grow and get to the next level, you've got to find them. You got to find them.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for YouTube, and the ability to select your content and just have so much available information at our fingertips, right? There's obviously all sorts of garbage as well, in the open world. And there's so many different doctors that are on there, therapists that are on there, coaches for relationships that are on there, etc. And I love what you said. I'm going to pull your quote back up here. Be careful who you listen to, who you give permission to speak into and over your life, because I think sometimes we end up gravitating towards best friends, right? And calling people best friends, or we end up getting married to somebody who we then kind of give permission to sabotage us, or we become the person who does that. And there's a delicate balance between our responsibility to do exactly what you said, which is, we don't want to be that type of person that accidentally tears other people down, while also understanding our opportunity and necessity in this world to build up our own resilience, and see how can I create resilience within myself so that when somebody comes at me, one of those podcasts, one of those YouTube channels, I was going to say it, and then I was like, man, if I was on national television right now, I would be mocked and ridiculed forever because of the YouTube channel I'm going to mention. And it's something like the Happy Wife School. Right. And it's like, oh, well, this guy, thinks he knows everything and he's sending people to happy wife. No, the teacher, the lady who runs that, just impressed me from a perspective standpoint. I was like, wow, her perspectives are very eye-opening and interesting from a relationship standpoint. And Dr. Orion, another one, Chris Williamson, Tony Robbins, there's so many chances, so many opportunities. My hope is that all of us will find those, back to the well aspect, the people who build these wells, and find people like Sharon who are going to care deeply about your well-being. Right. We all make mistakes, but having people around you who care about your well-being, there are lots of options out there. And sometimes it's just easier to go to one who seems like that great option, like Sharon, and then also benefit from her extended network. And the same is true of mine. You're all welcome to, of course, reach out to both of us. Final thoughts as we wrap up. You got the action steps below the links, my friends. You've got the resources down below. Of course, you can plug into those, and we'd love to have you on the show. There's a button that says "Be Our Guest." I'm in like this very calm, zen-like state right now, thanks to Sharon. But Sharon, I'll let you wrap us up today. Any final message for the audience?
No, I think go back and listen again, and take some notes. Take some time to just be alone with yourself and just think about what is it that you want. I was listening to somebody the other day. They were talking about rejection being a gift, and I love how she framed it. And I'm going to totally I cannot even remember her last name perfectly. It's Jamie that founded It Cosmetics.
Jamie Kern.
Yes, thank
Jamie
you.
Kern Lima. There we go.
Yes, yes.
Aligned.
Just like she's just so good talking about her journey of, the rejection and even to be rejected not based solely on the product she was designing, but because she didn't fit with her figure. And God, she's gorgeous and kind and smart. She's the package. She didn't fit what Hollywood was peddling.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of those investors missed $1 billion, 1 billion
Right.
reasons to invest in her. And her, no.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Her story is phenomenal.
Right.
I saw her live a couple years ago. I was like,
And as I say it out loud, she didn't fit what Hollywood was peddling.
mm-mm.
But you and I don't fit what Hollywood is peddling either.
That's right.
Listeners, you probably don't fit what Hollywood is peddling. There's an agenda, there's a narrative. We have to stop and think, what do we want? This is my life. I interviewed Lisa Gable, who was part of the Reagan administration, on my show the other day. And she's like, think about what you want. What makes you happy? How do you want to live your life? Like, we have got to stop trying to fit into the sitcom box that we all see. It's not life. It's not reality. And it's really affecting like the next generation coming up. Like, it affected me a little bit, but I'm a little bit rebellious. But like, to see how it's affected my kids, their generation, like, you guys, this is so-called entertainment. It's not reality.
Absolutely. Super opportunity to dive in and explore
Yeah.
again what makes us happy. I think that is such a easy thing to neglect and overlook.
Yeah.
And it takes some meditation sometime to figure
Yeah.
out what that looks like, and perhaps a couple conversations with people who will lift you up. Happy to
Yeah.
do that myself, and we will see all of you on the next episode of Vision Pros Live. Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention